5 of Wheel Bearings. I am Sam Abuel-Salmon from Telemetry.
I am Roberto Baldwin from SAE International.
And I'm Stephanie Brinley from Mobility Global. We have a new name since you talked to me last, and a new company.
Yeah, you split off from part of your company,
Mobility Global used to be S&P Global Mobility. We went public on our own on July 1st. And so we still have and do and continue all of the analysis and everything around car buying, car selling, production, planning, forecasting, vehicles, engines, powertrain, components. Carfax is part of our company, and a couple of other elements that reach out to speak a lot to dealers, Automotive Mastermind being one of them. So we still have the whole massive collection of data and insights around the industry to deliver, but we're now independent from S&P. For me, it feels like going back to being independent, because when I started, we were still IHS and we were independent from at that point. But at any rate, new company. My job is fundamentally the same. No change there. And so far, it's going great.
Awesome. Well, what have you been driving this week?
I had over, a week and a half. I had the Mercedes-Benz CLA, which came out last year, so I'm a little bit late to the game there, but I really enjoyed it. And I also had the Lexus ES 350 electric, sort of in the same time frame. And the Lexus is clearly, as we know, a little bit larger than the CLA, so it's a bit bigger of a sedan. And Lexus has a much different approach to things. But it was interesting seeing both of those at the same time. And I found the Lexus ES electric to be lovely and smooth, and we lost Sam. Shall I keep talking?
We lost Sam. Again.
It happened again.
Oh no.
I tested it for almost an hour earlier, and it was
maybe
fine.
It just doesn't work with other people. Maybe it just hates other people. Have you thought about that?
Know. But Steph,
can you just just go through instead of using? You're just using the web. You're just on Chrome, right? You're not trying to. I don't know. You're doomed. I'm sorry. Yeah.
If it happens again, I will migrate back upstairs to my office. But Steph, carry on. You're talking about the ES or the LS versus the ES versus the CLA.
The CLA, and again, slightly different sizes, but the Lexus ES is smooth. It's comfortable. It's really lovely to drive. The interior is nice. I had my niece with me, and one of the things that she saw, she liked the volume button right below. It's a little silver round dial, and it's right below the screen. And I don't think she was in the car before 2 or 3 minutes, and she's like, "I like that." She use it, so that was great. But really smooth. And then I got into the CLA, and the CLA is even in the scope of electric, just much more dynamic. And feels much more connected. There's more power to it, but they both have that instant torque at the low end. So it didn't feel like my appreciation of the CLA was really about power so much as just seeing how different these two cars really were, and the way that they felt. And they were really quite true to their brands as well. You've got a Lexus owner that had a hybrid or had a regular ES before, and I can see no reason why they wouldn't just love this electric. It does everything it needs to. Range, I think, is around 220. I didn't really hit that limit of it, so I had no problems with the efficiency of the vehicle at all. I ended up having to take it to the airport twice, and no issues with feeling like that wasn't enough or that it wasn't performing well in that regard. It just the CLA for me just felt a little bit more fun. When I was looking at the pricing on them, there's a bit of a difference there. The CLA that I as equipped was $67,330. The base price of the electric CLA is $50,500. So there's quite a bit of equipment on there. And in thinking about looking at the list in front of me about what the equipment's, the optional things, the CLA comes with a fixed panoramic glass roof, but there's another 1,050. I don't know if I should say, that is for the sky control, which is a feature that changes the opacity of the roof. So you can have some more light in, you can have a design in that. It's cool. Would I need that for $1,000? I think I probably don't. If some people,
it's a wow factor to show.
It is a wow factor. It is
Look
cool.
what I can do.
It's cool. I checked it out because I remembered I needed to. And after that, the drive assist, because the car comes standard with all of the normal cruise controls and ADAS systems, like taking it to the extra level of hands-free on the freeway or whatever, their drive assist is not overpriced, but it was $1,950, and I was like, I could drop that. And this car had an AMG line package with line plus with night package, which is cosmetic stuff. So it blacks out some of the features instead of some of the elements instead of being chrome. And that's another $3,000. So of that $67,000 at this, I was like, okay, I can take $5,000 or $6,000 off of that and still love the vehicle. They do have a $5,800 option that they call Pinnacle line with the digital extra stuff in there, which includes your HUD. It includes some of the MB assistant and some of the I think some of the ambient lighting and stuff. The extra elevated is part of that even though that's an expensive package, that's probably one that I would want to have on there. And so I thought that's kind of where I was at with the 67 seemed like a pretty good price for the CLA, but I personally would probably not mind losing about $6,000 in options. And not mind at all. The Lexus ended up about $58,000, which seemed to be quite reasonable. It starts at 55, but just the color and really it was mostly the color and a cold area package. There's not a lot of packages on top of that luxury version of the E350 or 350e. Again, I think that $58,000 for that price point isn't terrible for what it is. Yeah, it's more expensive, but than the ES used to be, because I think we do have a couple $1,000s more in the ES line in general. And I think Lexus has done a decent job of sort of taking that hybrid and electric pricing and layering them almost on top of each other so that you can get a Lexus ES 350 electric or a hybrid and spend similar money, or you can go up to the more expensive, the ES 500 electric is more powerful, and you can go up there and it gets a little bit more expensive, of course, with the extra power and battery. But their pricing is it's more expensive than the previous ES, but I don't think that if truly what you want is an electric in that segment and out of that company, I don't think the pricing for the Lexus ES 350 is a really significant gating factor within that segment and within that customer. But I enjoyed both of them, and I did find the CLA a little bit more engaging as a driver's car.
Well, the ES, is got a lot bigger with this generation. It's actually what I think it's larger than all but the most recent generation of the LS that got discontinued. Yep. So it's a big car and got a lot of room in the back seat. So if you got passengers, they will be comfortable back there.
They would appreciate that for sure.
Did you have the executive seating package back there?
I did not. Oh. I was kind of surprised. Like it's the trim level that you could order that package, but it wasn't on there. Like I looked before, I was like, wait, this doesn't make sense. No, I did not have that. I was curious about that package. I don't remember the cost of the package, but it's an interesting one because I feel like it's really developed for what ES wants to do in other markets. And just as we'll throw it in and the US buyers can choose it if they want to. I don't think that outside of maybe a Maybach that automakers have done really well with executive packages. Pardon me, in that second row, not in that category. And Genesis has done it a couple of times, and U.S. consumers just don't seem to check the box enough to make that standard or make that feature last more than a model or 2 years. So we'll see if Lexus holds on to it. But no, I didn't have it. I was looking forward to it, but I didn't have it.
So I haven't had a chance to spend time with with either the RAV4 or the ES beyond the first drive programs yet. That particular fleet manager has not seen fit to put one in my driveway yet. So I haven't had a chance to spend a lot of time with the new infotainment system that Toyota and Lexus have. What did you think about that after spending a week with it?
It's a little bit faster. And operates better that way. But honestly, the things that I was doing, I did use more CarPlay for navigation than I did the internal for that. So just played with it a little bit. It is faster and it moves things around easier, incrementally improved. I didn't come away from it thinking, okay, this is head and shoulders above what they had before. But these infotainment systems just get better and better and better. And they launch and they seem really great because they're better than what they were last year. And after a bit, it doesn't feel as fast and you start finding stuff and then they make it better. So I felt like it was an incremental improvement, a solid incremental improvement, but not purchase or not purchase level of improvement.
Okay. Any other thoughts on these two that you want to share?
I think that's about it. They were quite interesting. I was excited that I had both of them kind of at the same time. It's roughly at the same time. It's really rare to have a schedule line up like that, even to have one back to back. So it was really interesting to have two cars at the same time or roughly at the same time. And, in the two sedans and, I think both brands have executed, really well to what they express and what they say they want to be, at price points that work for their customers. They're not price points that work for every customer, but they're price points that work for their customers.
Although, the ES, it's not, neither of them are cheap, but, the ES in particular, I think for what you're getting is a pretty reasonable price point, for a premium sedan, that's a fairly large car.
Yeah.
And, $50,000 to $60,000, for a price range there.
It absolutely
not
is. Bad. No, it's not contextually to that. But if you're an ES owner who bought one 4 or 5 years ago and you come in and it's $4,000 more to get into the vehicle, like that's where a consumer might be like, but what? But consumers do.
Yeah. But then
understand
again, you look
technology.
at anything, you're going to see that same kind of price increase.
Yep.
So,
and there's a reason for it. It's an only platform. It's electric. It's hybrid. It's got and. Yeah. So if you're a consumer moving from one to another, you might not like the price increase, but you understand you're getting something for that money.
And one of the key things that Lexus talked about, when they did the launch program last spring, was trying to attract younger buyers with the new ES. What do you do you think this car was going to pull in younger buyers?
I don't know. The exterior and interior look terrific. So visually, I don't think that's a problem. I think there's some opportunity there, but it depends on kind of what that younger buyer is looking for. The assumption will be a younger buyer would want to be a little bit more engaged, but maybe not. There's potential there because of the technology that's involved in that. But it's also almost always the case. I want to go for a younger buyer is pretty standard in any marketing pitch you see. So there's opportunity to do that. And a lot of that opportunity is from the technology that's there and simply making it hybrid or electric only and taking out the gas. Really for some younger people can change what they're considering. So I think it can make a difference in that. It's a little bit styling and it's a little bit technology.
Okay, cool. All right, Robbie, what about you?
What did I drive? I drove this. Whoa, it disappeared. I drove the Subaru Uncharted. Put it back in the spreadsheet. There we go. I drove the Subaru Uncharted. It's a And right off the bat, I got in the car and thought, well, this is a weird little car. Because it is. It's a weird little EV. This doesn't make it bad. It's just kind of weird. Sort of stout and sort of like, it's like the ends got chopped off when you look at the design wise. Like the front just stops, the back just stops. And it's like someone stuck it in there like, oh, you know what? We made this 6 inches too long. Get the knife. Hack off the front, hack off the back, send it on its way. That said, everyone who saw this thought this was a very fancy, like it was a lot of my friends were like, oh, that's a really fancy car. I'm like, no, it's not. It's a Subaru. Subaru doesn't make fancy cars. Subaru makes cars. But so chopping things off apparently seems to make things fancier. For the vehicle, I felt like I was sitting a little too high. But that's most vehicles for me nowadays. But this one felt a little like, whoa, I'm sitting a little high, and that's a seat issue. That's just people want, people say I want to be able to see over the car in front of me. So the automaker's like, all right, add an inch or two to the bottom of the seat. Boom, done. That's it. Driving around, yeah, it's a nice little. It is a good little EV. I was unable to do a mileage run. I've actually have to do that today or tomorrow. So I don't know if it meets its super secret range. Apparently, like you go on, like Subaru doesn't give you a Monroney. They give you like a data sheet, a sheet with all the stuff, but it's not like a real. So then I'm like, oh, I'll just look on the press site. I'm like, oh no, I can't find it. It's like, oh, between 270s whatever and 30 whatever. That's the range of the range. And I'm like, can you, okay. So I just went to fueleconomy.gov and I had the GT all-wheel drive with the 20-inch wheels. And so, of course, because of that, it had the least amount of range, which is 273. So if I'd had the regular non-20-inch wheels, it would have been 287 for the vehicle.
I don't know. Can you live with cool wheels and a little bit less? Like I got like 10 miles less range and cool wheels. I think I could do that.
I don't know if they're cool, but they're wheels. How's that?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Is it like the bigger wheels? At the end of the day, you're just like, well, is it better? Is it cooler? Like, we're sacrificing ride quality. Yeah. You're sacrificing, range. Sure. I mean, when we got our car, I didn't ask like what kind of wheels we were going to get. I just got whatever was on the car. I think it was like, well, this is what we got. So I think that's essentially what's going to happen. People will go into a dealership. They'll say, what do you got? I want this car. What do you got? Yeah. And then they'll say, we got these three. They all have 20-inch wheels. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll pick the blue one. That's right. Yeah. Mine was gray, so it was invisible. As a 74.7 kilowatt hour battery pack. So if we just do the math, it gets about 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour, which is, pretty good, especially for Subaru or, this is a Toyota is what this is. It's a rebadged Toyota. That said, it has that cool hill descent that I really like on the Subarus where it just turns on automatically when you're in off-road mode. So I really appreciate that. It has some pretty good ground clearance. 8 something.
It's 8.3.
Yeah, 8.3. So you can actually do stuff with it if you want to. Your average Subaru off-roading, which again is more than most people off-road their Jeeps or their lifted Toyota 4Runners or whatever else people are pretending they're going to off-road in, and those things are pristine and none of the paint has a single scratch or a fleck of mud that wasn't from the Target parking lot. The interior, because it's the GT, is sort of the top of the line. It had like heated and cooled seats, which I was just like, I wasn't expecting cooled seats from a Subaru. The infotainment system it's fine. It works. It does what it's supposed to do. Like Stephanie, you end up using CarPlay, plug it in. There's my music. There's my stuff. The dash cluster is so incredibly busy. It's just like there's so much stuff in the bottom right-hand corner. There's so many little icons that are just like all these things going on. And the steering wheel, again, is also busy. It's like one of those space cars from the 80s, like in a sci-fi movie where on the the steering wheel, they put like an entire computer. There's so much stuff going on the, and like, you know, although this all carries over from Toyota. It was like, hey, let's put everything. They can't say we don't have physical buttons. Sure, you're right, you can't, but you don't have to put them all on the steering wheel.
Right.
That said, I really like this little car. I drove it around, took it into the city, took it to somewhere, I don't know, somewhere else. Oh, took it to see family, took it to Costco. Yeah, it's a nice little car. Seats went down. I was able to put my giant keyboard case in there when I had to go to band practice. Yeah, it's a nice little car. It has, and let me see. But is it nice enough for the price? So the starting price for this, the Uncharted, is $43,795. So $270
for the GT.
For the GT.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and it is quick. It is fun. You know, it will get out of its way. It will go for it if you want. But it charges at 150 kilowatts. So it's 400. You know, so you're paying over 40,000 for a 400 volt vehicle, 150 kilowatts. It does have 11 kilowatts AC charging, so that's great at night when you're just charging at home. Which again, most people who have a house or somewhere where they can charge, that's how they're going to charge. So that's great. So it's for the GT, sure, I guess, for that price point, when there's the EV6, the Ioniq 5 and other vehicles that charge a little bit quicker. If you're not going on any sort of like real road trips, then that's 150 is fine. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. If just take a real hard look at yourself and think to yourself, I'm going to go on a road trip, and then really think about the last time you went on a road trip that was more than like 200 miles. Because a lot of people are like, I'm going to go on a road trip, and then you're like, cool, when's the last time you went on a road trip? And they're like, so 97? It was for Lollapalooza and the Beastie Boys were opening. So 93? So yeah, it's yeah. So it's a Toyota Subaru mashup. It's a Voltron of those two vehicles. So yeah, you could, I'm looking forward to trying out the Trail Seeker still.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. This does have the NACS port, so you're going to be able to, and it's in the front fender as opposed to the rear, which I think I still like. Well, why are we putting the charger? I know why, but come on, just put it in the front. Every time you're driving into any sort of parking lot, and every Tesla has to back into their spot, and you're driving. Now you got to wait for this person to back in. It's like when the person with the big Ram truck has to back into their spot. You're like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What's going on? And they're like, oh, so it's quicker. No, it's not.
No.
I can tell you, it's not. So
No.
yeah. So now we're forcing everyone to do that, which whatever. Yeah. No, I actually like. I think the infotainment screen is fine. It works well. It does what it's supposed to do. The dash cluster, again, just so many little like icons in that lower right hand corner. And the vehicle it needs maintenance soon. Just probably rotate the tires. I mean, I get that.
Rotate the tires, change the cabin air filter.
Yeah, I get that.
Which you can do yourself in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I get that sort of thing. But it kept binging when I would turn the car on. Bing, bing, bing for like needs maintenance. I'm like, this is not Subaru. This is not Toyota. This is literally every automaker. Settle down with the beeping, because there's a signal to noise ratio. So if everything is the most important thing, nothing is the most important thing. You're just creating noise. You're not. And so instead of saying, hey, let's reserve this for like the two important things, like, oh my gosh, your tire's really low, you're almost out of charge. Let's say 3 Godzilla attacks. So
yeah.
So if it's for every single
Godzilla
thing,
was attacking, the warning's probably not going to be much help.
Yeah. You're probably going to know.
You might.
Yeah, is that Mothra flying overhead? Oh dear. Just driving either direction.
What do I do about it? Yeah.
What do I do? Just other way, just other way. So yeah, again, I had, my Kona electric we had it for 3 years, and every once in a while it would just bing. Never figured out what that bing was for. You just be driving, bing.
It was just a test, just to make sure that it's like, the emergency broadcast system where
it's
periodically
like,
they have to run a test.
Are you awake?
Just got to make sure the bing is still working.
Like we have emergency sirens for like tsunamis and we have refineries here in Northern California for the refineries and all this stuff. And the first Wednesday at noon and every month they have to test those. So if you're at home and you forget what day it is and you're like, oh no, and you're like, we got to look at the count. Oh no, we're good. Or the thing is happening on the first Wednesday at noon and you're doomed.
Yeah, we have storm sirens here. The first Saturday of every month at noon.
The
siren winds up and you can hear it.
Yeah, you're like, it's already another month.
You're like, oh no, I gotta pay rent. So yeah, it's it's a good little EV. Is it spectacular or like super rad?
Well,
it does what it says.
Yeah.
The 400 volt, and again, this isn't Subaru's fault. This is, it is what it is with a company who's still kind of a niche company, Subaru. Even though everyone in the Northeast and everyone in Colorado owns one, apparently by law. And I have one. So yeah. I enjoyed the Subaru Uncharted. I wish it charged a little bit quicker. And I wish that there was just like some settle down. I wish everyone just settled down once you sat in the driver's seat when it comes to the steering wheel, the dash cluster, and the random beeping because, hey, this needs maintenance. Okay, cool. Just tell me that on the screen, which it does, but it also is beeping at me about it. I'm like, it's not like the oil's going bad.
I think that's the Toyota heritage. Toyota likes to beep at you for.
Yeah, it does. It was like remember the Prius where when you backed up, it would beep, but it only beeped inside the car. It didn't beep on the outside of the car.
Not helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my
Toyota's big with that.
My friend, she bought that car, and I think she watched the video, and she didn't believe me, I guess. And then she bought the car, and she's like, that thing where you said it only beeps inside the car? She's like, I bought the car. It only beeps in the car. How is that? Is that just to remind me that I'm backing up? Yeah.
And you saw that.
It's a reminder to look over your shoulder.
Yeah. I mean,
haven't
outside the car. Yeah, cool. I'm totally fine with that. Tell everybody you're doing something that you can't see.
Yeah. I haven't driven the Subaru yet. I'm looking forward to it. I've only driven the CHR Toyota companion vehicle on the first drive, but I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked the size of it.
It's exactly the same. Different headlights.
It's like a nice little car, it handles well. It takes off really. If you got the GT, it's sporty. It's fun to sort of drive. It's got 8.2 inches of ground clearance. It's got all the cool little things that you want from a Subaru, but then also like all those sort of carryover from Toyota, which is just like, it's 400 volts, 150 kilowatt charging. Yeah. All the buttons in the world on the steering wheel. And like, again, that weird section of the dash cluster is just like, let's just put everything right here and have it all on it all.
Yeah.
It's like a clump of everything.
On the pricing point, the base Uncharted, the front wheel drive premium, because, Subaru is the only company that their base trims are called premium. The premium front wheel drive actually starts at $35,000. And that's got the most range. Okay. So, that's actually, I think, fairly reasonable. And, it's a pretty good deal. The all-wheel drive Sport, is 40, starts at 40. So, it's actually pretty reasonable, I think, for what you're getting. And even though, the charging is not the fastest in the world, it's still more than twice as fast as it was when the Solterra first launched a few years ago.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But it was very funny the difference between how Subaru and Toyota marketed those vehicles, the BRZX and the Solterra, where you couldn't find the BRZXQLMNOP. You couldn't find it at the Subaru at the Toyota booth. Like I was looking for it, and I finally found it. It was just on a platter spinning. And then you went to the Subaru booth, and it was like the Ewok village that they had, except they had a Solterra like up top and center and on that giant screen. Plus they had one outfitted with all the outdoor-ish stuff on the ground. And it's just like, oh yeah, this is a completely different, the same car, few little tweaks, but just completely different on how they were sort of selling it to the world. And I think, I think this is, and I think Subaru buyers want as outdoorsy people, they want sort of that, I should get an EV because I care about the environment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so now you have choices, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. Subaru is one brand that it just feels like EV should be natural.
Yeah.
Of course they would buy one. It just feels a little bit more right for them.
Yeah. And it's actually surprisingly good off-road. I mean, it's not going to go, run the Rubicon Trail or anything, or, go to Moab. But, when I went on the Solterra drive last summer, they had a pretty decent off-road course, a pretty challenging off-road course. And we were driving cars that just had regular all-season tires on them. So the Solterra has got the same 8.3-inch ground clearance as the Uncharted. And, it's not all-terrain tires like you would get on a Ioniq 5 XRT or anything like that. And it did shockingly well on that stuff. So they've done a good job with the electronics that control the traction, directing the torque to the wheels that have some grip, and the suspension setup is well sorted out. So it's going to take you, certainly, I think, where any place that any Subaru owner expects to be able to take their car, if it was a combustion Subaru, it's going to work just as well with their EVs.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go on.
And it kind of takes the hesitation out of that, because you can take it in that environment and not be an expert off-roader and still feel confident in the vehicle, which I think is kind of where more Subaru buyers would be, and generally in the sense that they want to go camping, they want to make sure they can get over whatever rut it is that's in the way, but they're not out to be outdoor or off-road drivers as a hobby. They want to go camping. And so Subaru does a good job, even with the Uncharted 2, to be able to take that ability to a novice or intermediate level, and you don't have to feel like you have to be an expert to be able to do it. Which is, you don't have to decide, when do I need low? Do I need high? Do I need this? Do I need that? You just drive it.
Do I need a lock? Do I need to lock my diff? Do I have to do? Subaru's just like, no, we got this. Yeah. Just go do the thing. You're fine.
You're fine. Very well aligned with what those.
If you feel fine, it's likely fine.
Usually. But on the pricing, I would say it's. I didn't look it up right, but the Equinox EV starts around 35 as well. So that's kind of an interesting comparison, because the Equinox would charge a little bit faster and is larger, so you can get a lot more space. And I think you're getting more range out of the Chevy Equinox than out of the Uncharted. So it'll be interesting to see where that lands over time, because they're also two very different vehicles from a personality standpoint.
I think they're two different, and when you look at the brand loyalty, like Chevy people are that sort of like Ford versus Chevy thing that was like for decades is sort of like eh. Meanwhile, Subaru people love Subaru.
Yes,
absolutely love Subaru. So you're gonna get the people who are like, I was in an Impreza, and now, I kind of want an EV. I don't know if I need the Trail Seeker. I need something a little, I don't need as much room as I thought I did.
Coming out of a Crosstrek, for example.
Yeah, I'm coming out of a Crosstrek, because this is like a perfect sort of like, I want a Crosstrek, but I want an EV. This is kind of what that is. I think the Outback going to an EV is the Trail Seeker, and I don't know, the Justy. We got to bring the Justy back. That's what I'm saying. Oh, I do not like the shifter knob. You have to push down and turn.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's really weird. Yeah. I kept like up. And at one point I accidentally just put it in neutral, and I rolled out of my driveway thinking I was in reverse. And then I'm like pushing the accelerator and nothing's happening. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I look down, I'm like, oh, I'm in neutral. Cool.
Yeah. Designers getting too creative with their shifters. Just stop.
Settle down.
Stop.
Yeah.
No one's impressed by your shifter.
Yeah. Now that everything's going to electronic shifters, just go with a nice, simple, on the column, stock.
Something.
Keep it simple. No, it's a no-brainer.
If you like the big giant thing, like the F-150, the Lightning.
Yeah.
If you like that, cool. Because it's just like, oh, this is kind of nice. Mm-hmm. Like either on the stock or just a big clock, forward and back. That's it. Now, everything else, you want a push button? I'm like, no, I don't want that.
No.
All right. Well, I had the new 2026 Jeep Cherokee Overland. So the Cherokee went away for a few years. It's back this year, and it got a lot bigger. This current generation of Cherokee is actually about the same size as the previous generation Grand Cherokee. So it's substantially larger than the last Cherokee was. And for now, at least, they're only selling it with a hybrid powertrain. So it's the first time they've put a hybrid. Actually, it's the first regular non-plug-in hybrid that Chrysler / Stellantis has had since the very brief run of the Durango and Chrysler Aspen back in 2008, which was on sale for about 6 months before they canceled the whole program, canceled those vehicles. This time around, they've got a new hybrid system that they developed, at least partially in-house. I think it was also in partnership with Magna. I believe it's based on a Magna system. And it's a 1.6 liter turbo with a power split hybrid. So it's a similar kind of architecture to what you get in a Toyota or a Ford. The behavior is similar to what you get in a Toyota or a Ford hybrid. But I think, Stellantis has done a lot more work on kind of the overall noise refinement of the system, because you get into any Toyota hybrid, and with the 4-cylinder engines, they're pretty loud. When you go to accelerate, you are very well aware that engine is revving up to 4,000 RPM and sitting there, because you will hear it.
You will hear it.
And this one, you can hear the engine, but it's much more muted, and it's a much more pleasant driving experience, I think, than most of the Toyota hybrids. So overall, the total system output is 210 horsepower, 230 foot-pounds of torque, which, for the size of vehicle is not bad. It's not going to win many drag races, but, it's in the same ballpark as what you get in a CR-V hybrid and a RAV4 hybrid. Although, this one is arguably a little bit larger than those, but still, overall performance is pretty comparable to what you get in those. It's very roomy inside. Back seats got a ton of room. We went out to the lake yesterday. I put the seat cover in there and put one of our dogs back there. And, Patty was all content on the way out to the lake, on the way home. Had lots of room in the back for the stuff, floats and beach chairs and a sort of other detritus that we take along when we go to the water. So lots of room in there. EPA rates this one at 37 miles per gallon combined, so 39 city, 35 highway. Around town, I would say it's been getting closer to about 37. Overall, over the course of this week, I've put over 300 miles on it because I had to drive over to Windsor on Tuesday and then a couple trips to Detroit and to Pontiac later in the week. And right now it's averaging just shy of 34 miles per gallon. So it's a few miles per gallon less than the label indicates for fuel economy. But it's still 34 miles per gallon in a Cherokee is not bad. I didn't do any off-roading with this.
You should be excited if you're in a Cherokee or any Jeep product that gets over 27 miles per gallon.
That's true. Yeah.
You should be writing.
It's still very good.
You should be having parties. You should be writing like editorials in the local paper about it.
For the time being, like I said, the hybrid is the only powertrain you can get in the Cherokee. Going forward, there will be a Trailhawk that's coming, and that one should be introduced sometime before the end of the year, I think. And most likely, the Trailhawk will have the 2-liter turbo in there, at least as an option, if not standard equipment. And so they'll probably have that 2-liter turbo available as an alternative to the hybrid for those that want it. Judging by Jeep customers, Stellantis customers, they seem like they're willing to spend more to get worse fuel economy. Especially if you look at Ram sales recently and Durango sales. So they'll probably sell a lot of those, but at least for now, the Cherokee hybrid is doing well. The one that I had, it says the 4-wheel drive Overland. So it's an all-wheel drive system. It's not a proper all-terrain 4-wheel drive system. It's got about just over 8 inches of ground clearance, so it's pretty similar to the Subarus. But like I said, this is not going to go rock crawling. This is on all season tires, 20-inch wheels. I
to be honest, that's what everyone in a Cherokee. Everyone in a Cherokee is just doing Subaru off-roading. They're not doing anything else.
Yeah,
they're not going crazy.
Yeah,
right.
The grand total on this one, the Overland, is kind of loaded, so it's got leather seats, uniquely perforated Capri leatherette seats is what they call it on the Monroney. This one was in silver zenith. The Uconnect 5 infotainment system is fine, like the Toyota. It's there's more stuff that's done through touch controls than I would prefer. I'd prefer some more physical controls, but it has manual vents, so I can direct the airflow exactly where I want, very precisely, without looking at it. I can just do it by feel. Get dual zone climate control in here, so my wife can set the temperature warmer for her. I like it a little colder when I'm driving. The only options on this one, like I say, were the Silver Zenith paint and the Advanced Pro Tech Group, which gets you ventilated front seats, which is quite nice this week because it was getting quite warm and humid. The auto-dimming rearview mirror, the digital camera mirror inside, heated rear seats, also a nice feature to have. And if you got a family that you're hauling around in this thing in the wintertime, the de-icer for the windshield wipers, another very nice winter feature. This should really just be called a winter package, not more so than a pro tech package, because most of the stuff is really for winter driving. Front camera washer, you need that more for winter driving. That was $995 for the whole package. There's dual pane sunroof on the Overland, a whole bunch of other stuff. It's got adaptive cruise control, no hands-free system on the Cherokee, so it's been quite pleasant to drive. Yesterday, so we're recording on Sunday afternoon. Yesterday I was out, had to make a run over to Costco for some stuff, and on the way, airbag warning light came on, said service airbag now.
That's
don't
terrifying.
know what that's all about.
See, that's a beep that I would want to hear.
Yeah, there was no beep, just a big warning on the cluster.
All right, well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Don't crash.
So, yeah.
Or do crash? I don't know what you want to do in this situation.
One thing I did notice this week when I was driving, a couple of years ago, Stellantis launched a partnership with a company called Haas Alerts. And what they do is they do they have a system where they supply transponders for emergency vehicles. So ambulances, fire trucks, police vehicles, tow trucks, bunch of other vehicles. And, when they're in the area, if they're doing something, if there's an ambulance, dealing with something, or, fire truck, whatever, they, it sends its location up to the cloud that gets transmitted back to the vehicles. And so I did the other day see an alert pop up on the infotainment screen for, it's for an ambulance. Yeah, there was an alert for an ambulance. So that's actually a good thing.
That's cool.
To get alerts about that sort of stuff, before you come on the scene, so you can get yourself positioned, and move away from the site. So and also, especially in town, where there's intersections, if ambulance, or emergency vehicles coming, you're coming up to an intersection and it's going in the cross street, being more aware of where they are, is definitely helpful for safety. I think Tesla also they supply the Haas alerts as well on their infotainment system. So that was a nice feature to see.
That's weird because they keep running into emergency vehicles, though.
Well, it's for the drivers. The autopilot just ignores those alerts.
Okay, only one. Yeah. Come on, guys, sensor fusion. Let's get this. Come on.
So grand total on this Cherokee, $46,585. That's the one. That's the biggest downside to this thing. It's a little pricey, but other vehicles in this category are getting pricey too.
Yeah. And that's with a lot of content. I think you can get RAV4 up there.
Yeah.
I think you can get CRV up there.
Yeah. Yeah, you can, like a CRV Trail Sport, you can absolutely get that into the mid to upper 40s there. One thing that also was a little odd on this thing was the shape of the steering wheel. It's this kind of octagonal shape.
It's a squircle.
It's the worst.
It's not even a squircle. It's more octagonal.
It's an octagon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the octagon of hate because it hates your hands.
Yeah. And so, and it does the steering wheel does have capacitive sensors in there like you have on GM Super Cruise to detect hands on the wheel, but they seem to be in only a very small zone, like right in the upper part of the side segments. And so depending on how you're holding the steering wheel, you can fairly frequently get alerts to put your hands on the wheel, even when your hands are on the wheel. So Stellantis might want to expand the detection area for those. It's
a bad steering wheel. I have an article coming up for Wired about the Cherokee, and when I talked to Cherokee, the Jeep, they were like, "Well, what do you think about the steering wheel?" I'm like, "I hate it. Absolutely hate it. There's nowhere comfortable to put your hands. It's like right when you get in the car, the first thing that as soon as I got in the car, I'm like, I hate this car because of the steering wheel. And then, the rest of the car grew on me, but the steering wheel is just so incredibly bad. And I have big hands, but it's still like, why? What are we doing with the steering wheel? Settled again, like all the beeping, just make a round steering wheel. No one was complaining about round steering wheels. No one was saying, these suck.
No, but they were complaining about how visibility sort of issues. I mean, talk with the Subaru, that all of the information that's in that lower corner also gets blocked by the steering wheel sometimes. But I haven't driven the Cherokee at home. I was just on the first drive for that a while back, whenever it was. I didn't find the steering wheel to bother me. And I do feel like it lowers the top of the steering wheel, so you're not looking around. I'm short, so I'm not looking around the steering wheel. I didn't have as many in a short drive on the brief first drive, which is an hour and a half or so, whatever that was. So I didn't run into a lot of problems with it, but that is that first take, and so not long enough to be like, I'm really I didn't have any.
You weren't angry like me.
I was not angry like you.
Because you could have it, you could still have it rounded and then sort of square off the top without having all the extra weird angles and seams that it has that make it. Yeah, you can still do.
There's some weirdness in there.
Yeah, like shuffle steering is like, well, I give up.
It's a Cherokee. It's okay.
Well, that's the whole. There's snow when you're driving in snow and ice. Like shuffle steering is actually preferred.
Yeah.
And it has the whole cold, tech package. I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
What did you think of, what color was yours, Sam?
It was silver.
That's right. I saw you.
Yeah. Not an exciting color, but it was fine.
Well, that's where I was going to head next though, is it's just not, it looks kind of like a Jeep, but not really. It's really kind of boring looking, isn't it?
It's a little more. It's a little generic.
Anonymous, generic.
It's
not
sells.
Unattractive.
That's boring. Yeah. Boring gray cars sell really great.
Yeah.
If you turn it on its side, if it looks like a CRV and a RAV4, you're going to do okay.
Kind of likes that, So I think that it'll sell fine, but there have been. And it does have, plenty of little Jeep DNA bits. around, but it's not one of the more interesting designs to come out of there. It's a little more square than they do with the Grand Cherokee that often.
Yeah, I mean, when they revealed it last year, they talked about trying to bring back some of the visual DNA of the old XJ Cherokees from the 80s.
Yeah.
So hence it is a little more square, especially compared to the last Cherokee. It's a little more squared off.
Yeah.
You got kind of the rectangular daytime running lamps around the headlamps, the kind of X shape in the tail lights, representing the jerry can. Yeah. And the wheel center caps actually have the little Wrangler icon on there, the Wrangler profile on the center caps. It's like, well, maybe why not do like XJ center caps,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it looks. I think that it looks a little bit better than the last Cherokee. I do like the direction that it's gone. Mm-hmm. It's almost just like they almost didn't quite go far enough.
Yeah.
To be to stand out a little bit more from the market, and so it's just sort of it will blend in. It'll blend in nicely, but it does kind of blend in, especially in silver.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I think when they launched the Trailhawk. It'll probably have a little bit more aggressive look to the front end. It'll have the probably the requisite tow hooks, red tow hooks and everything else, and just be a little more Jeep looking up front.
And that'll make a difference.
Bigger wheels and tires.
Yeah. While we're talking, I pulled up the pictures from my first drive, and I was driving a blue one, which does pop a little bit more than the silver when I did it then, but I haven't had it at home yet.
All right, let's move on to some of the other stuff this week. So let's start off with the Audi A2 e-tron. Audi took the wraps off, or mostly took the wraps off the A2 e-tron. The pictures that they've published, still have some camo wrap on them, but they published a story about how this is the most energy efficient Audi ever built. So back in the early 2000s, they built a model called the A2, which was a little subcompact hatchback, which at the time was the most efficient vehicle they had ever, and was one of the most efficient vehicles of all.
In the
world. It was the first one in Europe to get certified for under 3 liters per 100 kilometers, which is about 78 miles per gallon fuel efficiency. It had a tiny little diesel engine. It was really super aerodynamically efficient. And so they've tried to bring that back, bring some of those ideas back with the A2 e-tron, which of course is an EV. And they're claiming 12.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which works out to about just over 20 kilowatt hours per 100 miles. And forget what that works out to in was it 20.6? So it's almost 5 miles per kilowatt hour, which is pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. It was 4.85 miles per kilowatt hour. So they're claiming this as one of the most certainly the most efficient Audi they've ever done, one of the most efficient vehicles in the world. Technically, the Lucid Air pure rear wheel drive is rated slightly better, but as we know, Lucids always underperform their official ratings, and the VWs and Audis tend to at least match or do a little better than their official ratings. So this could actually end up doing a little better in terms of overall efficiency. The battery's not as huge. It's only a 61 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate battery. And I don't think they didn't give a range for it. Let me find that note I had with the.
I will say that the gravity I had actually was better than the range. This is the first Lucid that I've had during the test it actually bested its EPA range.
Okay. So this should work out, based on the rating, it should get about 280 miles of range. Which is pretty good for a little car like this. What do you think of the look of the A2 e-tron?
I kind of like it.
Yeah, I think it's
And I'm
cool.
looking at it right now. I think it looks cool, but I don't have the. I didn't. We don't expect them to sell it in the United States, I believe.
No,
the case.
sadly not.
Like, that's the sad part of
Like,
it.
hey, look at
It
this
is
cool
this-
thing. Yeah, we can't have it.
Yeah.
America.
But they do that. That decision is driven out of history, because every time they have a car that small in the Audi lineup, it doesn't work very well in the U.S.
Yeah.
So
Mercedes, the the A class. No one's bought the A class, even though it was awesome.
yeah,
Luxury vehicles, luxury car, Germans and small cars outside of the Mini just don't mix.
they unfortunately they don't, and so it's kind of interesting. We can say, oh, like, so sad that we can't have it. And I'm like, well, there's an answer to that. Americans could buy more small cars,
Yeah.
and we could have it.
No,
So-
it's crazy talk.
I know, but
Americans
I do like
would
the
rather
look
go
of
into huge amounts of debt than be seen
Mhm.
driving a small car.
it. Mm.
Womp womp.
Well,
Yeah.
but it does the numbers they're putting out look pretty cool, and all the little bits of technology that they have going into it, it'll be interesting. And one way or another, that'll still ultimately affect vehicles that are offered in the United States, because this technology and things are learned, get better, and all of the things that we know about evolution and iterative improvements still apply.
Yeah, I mean they've done a lot of work on the aero. They've done work on the motors, the battery. It's a new LFP battery with prismatic cells. And they've done a lot to reduce the costs of not just the LFP, but also, the way the battery pack is constructed. It's should be much more cost effective to produce. So, yeah. Hopefully we'll see some of this technology filter into some Volkswagen models in the coming years.
We should.
And then also on the relatively low cost EV front, we have the Ford Fathom.
Can we not make a joke? Let's not. Can we please? Let's just not.
Oh,
It's
come
not
on.
a joke. It's a unit of measurement. It's a unit of depth, and a fathom is 6 feet.
I
And
know.
no one thought about that.
Apparently they did not. They used sort of
Actually,
the
they
more
did.
colloquial thought of
So
it.
it's 6 feet under. Is that what you want? You want a dead car?
No.
They have a whole long, I read their whole little, the
I did,
depth
yeah.
and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they
I'm
were
like,
looking at it from the verb form of the word fathom, not
Yes.
the noun.
Yes. And it's fine. It's fine. Product does not live or die on its name.
no, it doesn't matter. I mean,
Names-
car names are dumb, to be honest. Most of them
Yeah.
don't make any sense.
Most of them don't make any sense. So I think that after this first news cycle, where they explain to us how cool and impressive they are, and this is why they use this word, because it speaks to how amazing they are. You move on. We don't need the origin story to stick around for very much longer at all.
Yeah, the origin, it's just word salad marketing. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
God. I'm like, guys,
And
did you
it's
just
not-
look in the dictionary and look up this word? Because that's what people
Right.
are going to say.
And what the orders start at the beginning of 27, deliveries are third quarter of 27. So we've still got another year. And part of this is just keeping the vehicle in the news and keeping it, which they need to do, make sure that people don't forget that they're doing it, and make sure that people get excited about it when it arrives. So that's not a bad thing, but part of that whole construction is telling a story and keeping us talking about it. And believe me, that is what I have talked about for the last few days, many times.
And it does appear that the program is delayed because a little over a year ago, when I was talking to Lisa Drake, who was at the time head of industrialization for Ford's Model E division, she said production was due to start in fourth quarter of this year, with delivery starting early in 27. And so, now it looks like they're doing pre-orders early in 27.
I saw that little slip. I was like, I
It's like
feel
a
like
year.
that's not what we
It's
said
a year
before.
slip because they're like, we're going to show it off in
Well, they
early
haven't actually
2027,
said when deliveries are going to happen.
and then fall of like 2027. I think
Yeah.
is the timeline that they've given now. So
Yeah.
so it's
They either
slipped
said fall or
it's-
said Q3.
It
one of the
slipped a
two.
year. You have to, I think when you're talking about like stuff like this, you have to be careful that you don't fall into the trap of Volkswagen and the ID buzz, where you just keep putting out a little bit of news and a little bit of news, and then 7 years later the car comes out and no one cares anymore
Yeah.
because you should have brought the car
That
out
is a
5
risk.
years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's Ford's EV strategy has been. They make good cars, but the strategy itself is sort of bonkers all over the place, and their pricing strategy again is sort of bonkers all over the place. They have a hit, so I know people are like, well, the Slate's in trouble. I'm like, are they though? Is this the thing
Well,
that's gonna
Slate's problems aren't related to whether or not there's a Ford Fathom.
exactly?
Yeah.
The Ford Fathom does not help Slate,
It
but
doesn't help Slate.
but
it's-
it doesn't.
Yeah, I think,
It's not.
But
and I think
I
it's
mean, it's
two
going to be
different
priced.
vehicles.
It's going to be priced starting at $28,350 plus $15.95 destination charge. So, $29,900
$30,000.
change. Yeah.
30,000. Yeah.
And,
And-
for that price, you get, seating for 5, 4 doors, bed, front, Apple Maps, navigation, all built in, power windows, locks.
All that stuff.
Yeah. And
Apple
they're
CarPlay
saying
on screens.
interior volume greater than a Toyota RAV4. And RAV4 is like 98.5 cubic feet. So
Look up the cubic feet for Ford Maverick.
Ford Maverick is 100.3.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
it'll
so
probably
It's
be,
already bigger.
Yeah.
yeah,
So it
it'll
doesn't.
probably be about the same as the Maverick.
Yeah. So it doesn't really that thing doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter.
It's
It's like-
a
it's-
factoid that
It's like when for years car makers were saying, "Oh, it has a rear facing camera for backing up." I'm like, "Yeah, legally you have
You
to
have
have
to.
that. That's why are you putting that on this? Yeah, this is the same thing where it has the same, more interior than cubic volume than a RAV4. I'm like, yeah, but it's people space. It's not. You're making it sound like it's like, oh, this big cavernous like van. No, it's people space. Stop it.
it's a weird for me it feels like a weird factoid for them to just like glom onto, because I'm like, well, your truck already does, so like that it's not a bad thing to have. It's a good amount of space to have in the vehicle, but it's not something new and different that they haven't been able to do before. They already did that.
Yeah.
So it's not an accomplishment in terms of moving it forward or making it a better vehicle, because you've already done that. So I just think it's a weird number for them to.
I'm
continue to
concerned
focus.
about the large digital screen thing they said, which makes me feel like, okay, but does that mean you're only going to put a single screen? Are you going to pull a Tesla / Volvo
No.
/
I don't think so. I think it's going to be, there's going to be a center screen. There's going to be a
dash
cluster.
bus?
I think it's
Yeah.
going to be, more like Mach-E style, but not, I don't think a portrait style screen.
It's just like
Right.
large digital screen. I'm like,
And they hit the price point, which will be good, and I'll see how long they, we'll all see how long they stay at it.
you have to buy it within the first 3 weeks is all I'm saying. And hope that your dealership doesn't rip you off.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always a challenge.
Because you can order it for the price that they think, and then when it shows up, the dealership can screw you over. Because it happened to my friends who bought Broncos, and the dealership's like, yeah, now your Bronco's $7,000 more.
Well,
They're like, no, but
we talked about
yeah.
one of our listeners that wrote in, he had ordered a launch edition Maverick back early on, and he got the notification from Ford that, yep, your truck is built. It's on its way to the dealer. Should be there on Wednesday. Called the dealer. They said, oh, no, we don't have that vehicle. And it turns out they had basically sold it out from under him, even though this was a custom order from the factory. They sold it to somebody else that was willing to pay more for it.
Yeah. And then people wonder why I'm excited about the Slate.
Yeah. So
like all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't need a center screen. I don't want any of this. I don't need any of this other stuff. And again, I'm a very weird edge case. So is there enough edge cases for an entire company to exist?
That's the question. And the edge case is there, and you're out there, Robbie, and other people feel the same way about it. So Slate will find some buyers. It's just always that how many and what
I still
comes
think
up next.
the majority of customers are probably going to be commercial customers.
Maybe.
And they can take advantage of the cheap wraps, to put their own custom graphics on there, things like that.
Yeah.
The modularity of being able to do, all these crazy things to the vehicle specifically for your business makes it like really like, oh, I'm just going to get the car. I'm going to add the things I need instead of getting the car, stripping things off, putting things on, doing this thing, doing this other thing, and just being like, oh, I just need this. And I'll get exactly this.
What you'll probably see is like some commercial customers will buy them, get the SUV cap on there, but with no back seats, and outfit it with some racks that they can pull out, with whatever they're hauling or delivering. And just for reference, the Ford Ranger, which is quite a bit larger overall than a Maverick, it only has 98.3 cubic feet.
It's slightly smaller.
So you actually get more room in a Maverick than you do in a Ranger. So yeah, it'll probably be right around 100 cubic feet in the Fathom.
And that'll be fine. Like I do think it's a good attribute, but it just seems weird.
It's a weird thing. It's a weird flex, is what it is.
Yeah,
it's a very weird flex. Like, hey, we got lots of room for you to sit in your car. Like, okay, like in the Maverick.
For the last couple of years, RAV4 has been the number one selling nameplate in the U.S. market. This year they're down a little because of initial supply problems as they switched over. But last year they sold 475,000 RAV4s in the U.S.
Right.
They're doing okay.
Yeah. So
they're doing
it's a very popular vehicle. So to compare yourself to that.
Yeah, and it's a number that consumers can get their head around pretty quickly without looking it up and thinking about it, and they'll think, okay,
people know how big a RAV4 is.
Right.
I think more automakers need to like just throw RAV4. Like, hey, our wheelbase is larger than the RAV4. You're like, okay. Cool.
Especially right now when they don't want to tell us the specifications. They don't want to show a real picture yet. They're holding back on a lot of things in terms of information while they're sharing other little bits and pieces there. But it's going to be interesting to see how it evolves. And everybody knows that base price is not generally where the biggest volume of any product is going to be. So that's going to be some part of the mix. My skepticism would come in and say, oh, they were going to hit that $30,000 number no matter what.
Yeah.
no matter what they
needed to do. Yeah. They'll be.
That number was going to get hit for at least the entry price. And it'll go up to 35. It'll go up to 40, like 40, 42, 45, like that's pretty normal walk. Go from 30 to 45. That happens in a lot of different car lines. But at least it puts it in that space and gets the conversation there.
Yeah. I had a Maverick Lobo a few weeks back. It was $45,000.
Right.
$25,000. Double the price of the original Maverick.
Yeah. More than double.
Cool.
But, in this case, Ford is actually putting a lot of the hardware in as standard equipment on that base model. Like they've said, that $28,000 or, the $30,000 model will have all the new Blue Cruise hardware in there on every single one, just basically following Tesla's pattern, of building in the hardware and making it software enabled as they go along.
Which will be interesting. One of the things, sorry to jump in, but is if you're at a price point where $32,000 is like where your income can support the monthly payment of the car, do you have another $100 a month to buy Blue Cruise on top of that? And is it, it eases complexity, and there's lots of other reasons to just put all the equipment on there. But if you're buying the low end, is that the buyer that's going to be able to step up for some of the subscription things over time? We'll see. But I feel like most of the other ones, the higher quick trims would be the people that buy it.
I think, there's going to be a bunch of customers that are not going to sign up for a subscription for Blue Cruise. But I think, there's also going to be a fair number of customers that will, and a lot's going to depend on how they price it. How much, the standard Blue Cruise, similar to what you have today, it's probably going to be on the order of about $50 a month.
Which is too much money.
What they're doing.
They said next generation Blue Cruise in the statement. So
right. No, but what I'm saying is like the basic functionality, the hands-off, highway driving, and it's based on their next generation, which is cheaper for them to build. It's on an all new software stack. And, so that'll probably run about $50 a month. And, what companies have generally been doing is, making these, so you can sign up and, cancel it whenever you want. You don't have a contract for it, which is, if you decide you're going to do that road trip finally after 20 some years, you can sign up for Blue Cruise, use it. When you get back from your road trip, then you cancel it, or you forget to cancel it and you keep paying for it for another 6 months,
like a
3
gym.
years. Yeah,
like
exactly.
a gym. They just announced some new pricing, or not just a few months ago announced some new pricing on the Blue Cruise on the monthly. And I'm trying to find the Ford number, and I'm not seeing it yet.
They've changed it a few times. I can't remember what the current number is.
Ford changing the pricing of things. No.
Shocking. Isn't it?
Okay, no, here it is. Okay, so right now for Ford products, Blue Cruise activation is upfront $2,100 for 3 years when you order the vehicle, which is about $58 a month if you average that out, right? The same with or you can do an $800 annual fee, or you can do a monthly fee. So they've done that in a couple of different ways, and I think the monthly fee ends up being like $75 a month. So that's the space that you're in.
Isn't it a little cheaper now? It's now $50 a month.
Yeah,
they're going so fast. I mean, because that was a while ago. So yeah, they've changed it yet again since then and maneuvered it around. And but they know
as long as they're going down. That's I mean, right now it's $50 a month, which I still think it's probably too much for.
It depends on your use case. I think
on who you are. Like if you're like
what you're doing.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said about the CLA, I could probably go without that. Like my personal driving doesn't really need that. Yeah. Do I like using the systems? Usually, do I check them out? Yeah, but do I need to buy one? I might not. But my commute's not long, and I don't do a lot of road trips, and so for me it doesn't make sense, but for others it may.
Yeah, I was just talking with a friend of mine earlier this morning who's currently shopping for a used BMW i4, and he was asking about the driving assistant professional package that they have with their hands-free system on there, and wanted to know if it was worthwhile. And I said, as long as you get the adaptive cruise control, the basic system, you probably don't need it, and especially the way he drives. I mean that's when he's going someplace with his wife and kids, they take their Volvo XC90. So this is going to be primarily his car. He's not going to be doing long road trips in this car. He's going to be fine without it.
Yeah.
It's very much adaptive cruise control is. And again, my thing, what do I do with my hands with hands-free systems? And I just put them on the wheel because there's nowhere else I can put them on my lap, which is weird.
Yeah.
Because I don't trust robots. And so I just leave them on the wheel and let the system does the thing. And I'm like, okay, cool, it's doing its thing. But
but what do I I agree. But the beauty of them all, though, is the longer term of this, which I'm sure we've talked about before, is that the margin on it is so fantastically high that it doesn't matter. In some respects, it doesn't matter if only 30% of your Fathom buyers up for the subscription, because you're making some serious margin on those buyers. And internally, Ford does not expect it to be 100%. I'm sure they probably want more than 30, but they can still make decent money on that system across the line at those prices, and over time should have some opportunity, to your point, Robbie, to lower the price a little bit. And still make a lot of money.
GM says they're up to about 40% take rate now on subscriptions for Super Cruise after the trial period ends, which is.
And that may be skewed by Cadillac. It might be skewed by Cadillac buyers and GMC buyers, especially Denali type buyers, having more tolerance for subscriptions.
All right, let's move on. So sticking with Ford for a minute, I assume both of you have driven vehicles with Ford's 1-liter EcoBoost, which at the moment is no longer available in North America. I don't think, 'cause all the cars that had it have been discontinued. But what did you think of the 1-liter EcoBoost, the 3-cylinder engine?
Oh wow, it was so long ago.
I guess it was fine. I don't remember.
Yeah, I didn't have any.
I liked it.
It's fine.
Yeah, but
if I can't remember it, it was probably just fine.
Yeah.
There. It worked.
I
It
mean,
did the thing.
I remember liking versions of the Fiesta, and Focus that had it, but I don't have a big memory of the engine in and of itself. But it was peppy enough, and it was efficient, in the space and the time that it was. Apparently, they're running into some timing problems.
Apparently,
Time belt problems.
it's also very efficient at eating timing belts, because according to testing, the timing belt may degrade and create debris that clogs the mesh oil pump pickup screen, starving the engine of oil.
That's fine.
Which is rarely a good thing, especially when you're driving on the highway. From a Detroit news story, a driver on a major highway in Wilmington, Delaware, reported the oil pressure light illuminated, and within 1/8 of a mile, the 2017 Ford Focus lost all power and the engine began to sound like a tank.
Cluck, 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 cluck.
Yeah.
You don't have any more lubrication.
Engines running without oil, never a good thing.
Never
Kinda-
a good thing.
They kind of need it.
You kind of need to pull over and get towed at that point, because you go much further and something's going to really break.
Yeah. So according to NHTSA, they haven't done a full recall on these engines yet. But apparently NHTSA is saying, NHTSA investigation is showing unreasonable risk to motor vehicle safety.
Oof.
So if you have a Focus or a Fiesta or an EcoSport, if you're one of the three people that bought an EcoSport with this 1-liter engine in there, apparently the average failure mileage is about 70,000 miles. So
Oof.
if you got over 60,000 miles on your 1-liter EcoBoost, you might want to go get it checked out.
Check your time and belt.
Yeah.
So just throw a new one on there.
Or just throw a new one on there and start over. But the other element is, if NHTSA does push an actual recall, Ford will then, if you have to do that with your EcoSport or whatever, part of that recall process will be they will reimburse you for timing belt related repairs that you did prior to it. So if you're a consumer worried about what happens with that recall, go ahead and make the fix. Because if it does move to the step of recall, then you'll get reimbursed. If it doesn't move to the step of recall, maybe your engine doesn't blow up. So either way.
I mean, you need new timing belts anyway. And to be honest, Ford's really good at recalls now because they have so many recalls.
Yeah, they've done them more than anybody
so they're
else.
really good at this now. Like
even doing multiple recalls for the same problem on the same vehicles.
They are. This quality is job like 7 or 8 right now.
Okay. Let's see what else. Going back to Mercedes for a minute. Ola Kalenius has acknowledged that yes, the auto industry went too far with removing buttons.
Yeah.
Did your
It's
CLA
nice to hear
have the
somebody say it.
hyperscreen on it?
It did, and there was a point that like my niece was with me, and she wanted to change the temperature, and it couldn't quite figure out, it wasn't moving fast enough. Like she could see where to push it, and I was just like, hey, Mercedes, make passenger side 72 degrees, which is like one of the first times I've ever done that, because I hate talking to cars. But I had a passenger who was struggling with changing the temperature on her own, and it just seemed faster to do that than it did to explain that she needed to push it a little bit differently or whatever. Let her spend another minute and a half trying to figure out why she was too cold or too hot. So yeah, I'm going to go with the buttons. We need more buttons. And I felt that even in the CLA. I like the steering wheel control buttons, although it was doing something strange. There was one that every time I turned now I've forgotten what it was. I shouldn't have said that. But, when I turned the turn indicator on, I ended up getting this weird error that I'm like, I don't understand where this error is coming from. Nothing was broken. It was like the sensor can't read something, and I'm like, how does that work?
Huh. Weird.
But
yeah,
anyway.
no, more buttons. Like you shouldn't, again, if I shouldn't have to explain to people how to work, just things that have always worked for a decade, like how to open a door. That's never a thing I should have to explain to someone. How to turn the volume up. Shouldn't have to explain to somebody.
Should not have to explain.
How to adjust the climate controls. Like there's so many things that we like, hey, let's be clever. Let's put it all on the screen, or let's make it electronic. When the reality is, I just want a mechanical door. Click. That's the super, super, click, open the door, close the door, open the door, close the door.
I used the assistant as it was intended, but does that really make the experience stronger? And
No.
she could have just changed it herself.
So future Mercedes models will have more buttons. So that's good.
And I think that's going to follow through in other automakers as well. We are starting to see, like the Lexus ES volume button right there. Mm-hmm. A lot of their stuff is still touch control, but that volume button is right there underneath the screen. And it's not just there in a really easy spot, but they put some effort into making it a button that is, nice to touch, right? The action on it is nice. It's pretty, and not that you're just going to touch it for no reason, but it's pretty. So you're like, oh, great. I'm going to choose. That's a good experience.
And Volkswagen already going back to more buttons on some of the latest models they've introduced. Hyundai's going back to more buttons. So yeah, we'll definitely see other manufacturers. Although some, like Rivian, just seem to continue to be insistent. No, we don't need buttons.
Whatever, man.
Yep.
Bad idea.
RJ's Garage says, no, we don't need to do that because you'll talk to your computer, your car, and you'll tell it what you want, and then it'll be smarter. And
Mercedes has been doing that forever, and they're going back to buttons. Mercedes has
you'll tell your Mercedes or your Rivian exactly where you want the air to flow from your vents.
What? No. Just what are we doing?
EVgo announced this week that they are going to be buying superchargers from Tesla. Yep. They're going to start installing superchargers at new stations, and they're getting the version 4 superchargers. So up until now, they've bought their charging equipment from a variety of different companies, and they're now going to start deploying version 4 superchargers. Apparently, with not just the version 4 dispensers, because there's a lot of supercharger stations, Tesla supercharger stations, that have version 4 dispensers, but they still have the old version 3 cabinets, so they still only charge at 250 kilowatts and 500 volts. EVgo is saying theirs will charge at 1,000 volts, up to 1,000 volts. So they're evidently getting the version 4 cabinets as well. Mm-hmm. They're going to be putting those in. They're going to be branded as EVgo. They're going to have magic docks in them, so you don't have to carry an adapter with you, although probably want to carry an adapter with you anyway, because you never know where you're going to want to charge. And then Tesla will be managing the back end, the connectivity to the chargers and everything. So these will charge at up to 500 kilowatts, they're saying, which is good. And they're going to start getting those out this fall.
It'll be funny if EVgo has more version 4 superchargers than Tesla.
Yeah.
Could happen.
Because Tesla's really not doing a very good job at rolling those out. There's a whole other supercharger station less than a quarter of a mile from the one they just put in my neighborhood that is still not V4. They have the V4 cabinets, but it's still 250, 500.
It'll be interesting to see what they need on the back end. And so Tesla's going to support these things, right? So Tesla's going to have to be involved in the installation in some way, shape, or form. So what bandwidth does Tesla have within its organization to deploy these, regardless of whether they're deploying it for Tesla or for EVgo, and how is that going to affect the V4 rollout overall? Is an interesting one to watch too. I think it's good I hope that EVgo does also still consider some other, and they don't go to an exclusive supercharger.
It doesn't sound like
they are. It doesn't sound like they are. But I think it's good that they're doing it. It should get Tesla superchargers out a little bit faster. And for Tesla, it's like, okay, here's some more revenue for us. Like, we'll build it. We still they're going to get their annual subscription or monthly subscription.
Yeah, they'll get paid by EVgo for providing the back end services and everything.
But they're providing a service, so they should get paid. Like, it's all, I think it's a positive move forward overall.
Yeah. Will it be the premium price per kilowatt that the Tesla superchargers are still? Probably.
That'll be up to EVgo.
They're like 40 cents more.
I think it's actually probably going to be less. I think EVgo's indicated that it's going to be priced a little bit lower, a little bit more aggressively than what Tesla's doing.
Okay, because Tesla's
we'll see.
So expensive.
Yeah,
it's like double the price of other ones. It's like if I'm driving down the road and I see gas $1 a gallon and I see gas $2 a gallon, I'm like, well, maybe I'll just get the $1 a gallon. Which is why I see a lot of Tesla people at EA and EVgo stations.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah, you're saving 5 or 10 minutes?
Yeah,
40% more per kilowatt hour?
yeah. Well, actually, I mean the EVgo and Electrify America chargers are just as fast or faster than the superchargers.
Yeah.
But they're not always as reliable.
because they're 800 volts.
Right.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
And so Tesla is around here at like 77 cents per kilowatt hour right now. Yeah. Yeah. And Iona's
okay, so you guys can't see that my eyes just blew up.
exactly.
Like
And
that's
then,
a lot.
meanwhile, Iona is 36 cents per killawatt hour.
Yeah.
And you're like,
there's last week when I was talking about the Rivian R1T I was driving, I mentioned the new BP Pulse charging station here in Ann Arbor. That's about 10 minutes away from me here. And they put in 10 chargers with 20 charge ports. They're 400 kilowatt chargers. They're Alpatronic chargers. And I tried it last week with the Rivian, and this week I took over our EV6 because Electron sent me their latest NACS to CCS adapter, their Vortex Plus adapter, which visually looks exactly the same as the original one, but it's been upgraded based on the stuff they learned from working with Ford and GM and some other automakers, because when they did the deal with them to supply them with chargers, because Tesla couldn't provide enough or provide them with adapters. They wanted some additional testing done, like Ford wanted them to do rollover testing, simulate actually driving over the adapter if it's sitting on the ground with your vehicle, impact testing, drop it, make sure the case doesn't shatter, things like that. And it's also, the new one's also UL rated. And so they sent me one of those, and I took it over this week with our EV6 to that BP Pulse station. And that BP Pulse station, their prices, their lowest off-peak price, 35 cents a kilowatt hour, and their peak price is 50 cents a kilowatt hour, and that's without any subscriptions. They don't have any kind of subscription, monthly subscription. You just roll up and tap your card or use the app and start charging. And so of the 20 charge ports they have, 14 are J3400 NACS charge ports. The other 6 are CCS. And I took it over there because I've used the supercharger station near me here with the EV6, but because of the quirks of eGMP, those only charge it up to 84 kilowatts on a supercharger. So I took it over there and tried out the adapter, plugged it in, and the battery was at about 30% state of charge when I plugged it in. It immediately jumped up to like 220 kilowatts, and it peaked at like 238, 239 at about 49% state of charge. And I took my little thermometer with me, was checking the temperature. It was only about 10 degrees above ambient temperature on the connector and on the adapter. Cool. So it was 90, like 92 degrees out, and it was like 102, 103 on the adapter. So it worked really, really well. If you have access to to either superchargers or the increasing number of NACS charging ports that are out there from non-Tesla charging stations, because Iona's got them, Walmart's got them, EVgo is starting to roll them out to some of theirs. I don't think Electrify America. I think Electrify America might have a few.
They have a couple. I think one's in Santa Barbara. Like it's really far away.
But the Electron Vortex Plus is a pretty nice adapter to have. If you want to just keep one in your vehicle in case you need it. They're like I think $189 on Amazon, something like that.
200. $199.99.
Okay.
$199.99.
$183 for the previous version.
Yeah. So definitely get the Vortex Plus, not the original one, because it's going to be more durable.
You can run it over with your car for funsies.
Yeah.
And accidents happen.
And like I said, if you're in the Ann Arbor area and you need some DC fast charging, I would definitely recommend that BP Pulse station at Briarwood Mall. Lots of chargers there. And you can go in and do your shopping at Harvest Market while you're waiting. I think I was plugged in for I think about 9 minutes or so, and went from 30 to 70% state of charge.
Yeah, so then you're like, okay, well, now I'm at the mall. If you want to run it, by the time you walk into the mall, you got to turn around and walk out. That's that's the weird point we are with charging. That it used to be like I had if I had a Bolt, I would plug it in and then I could go shopping and do whatever I needed, blah, blah, blah. And I come back out and the Bolt would be like charged and go. Now with like the Ioniq 5, I plug it in. Like I don't have enough time to eat my food when I go, if I'm doing a road trip. Like I'll go, there's like a Mexican, there's a Mexican restaurant that I like to go to. And so I'll go in and I'll order my food. And by the time I get my food and take like 3 bites, I got the thing that says, oh, your car's at 80%. And I'm looking outside to see, I'm like, well, there's no one there waiting. If no one's waiting, you can go above 80%. But if there's someone waiting, as a social contract, you should go and get the hell out of the way. So I have to get my food to go so I can eat a little bit and then go in the car and then drive off.
Well, that's the nice thing about having 20 charging ports, and they're hooked up to 400 kilowatt chargers. So even if you're sharing with somebody, you can still get 200 kilowatts, even with 2 vehicles plugged in. So lots of room there.
Yeah, chargers need to be quicker or slower.
Yeah,
that's my problem right now. There's not enough time for me to eat a burrito. On the burrito index, they either need to be quicker, where I know I can just go and get the burrito and walk out and get in the car, like I get gas, or it needs to be slower, where I can go in, I can enjoy my burrito as opposed to, housing it like a monster, like trying to get like 3 bites in before my app's all, bing, hey, go get your car and go away.
Oh gosh, is nobody ever satisfied?
I'm never sad. There's nothing when it's quicker, I'm going to be like, ugh. Remember when I used to be able to relax? Now I got to get back in my car and drive away.
Have a nice leisurely Red Bull and a burrito.
I need to, like, sometimes it's just like, if there's like, oh, this one will only charge at 100 kilowatts. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go park there. I'm going to go inside. I'm going to have a nice meal. I don't need 250 kilowatts of monster energy flying into my car right now. I just want,
and it's cheaper.
A burrito. Yeah, it was cheaper.
Yeah. It's really, it's interesting conversation to have, because either the things that people just use their cars a little bit differently, and it makes that whole what's charging like question very difficult to answer. And I think the experiences you're talking about are the differences between having owned an EV for a long time and thinking about getting one. And it takes a while to find that groove for yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely a very funny. It's not a real problem, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's only a real problem. So, yeah.
Well, the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, blast to drive, but especially because of the tires they put on it, the wheels and tires they put on it, which are great on the track. Not so much for range though. The Ioniq 5, depending on configuration, you can get well over 300 miles of range out of it. But the 5N, only 221 miles EPA rated. So Matt from the Downshift YouTube channel has a 5N. And so he's been running some experiments with different tires and different wheels because he wanted to get more range out of it. And first thing he did was he swapped the Pirelli P0 tires that come from the factory with some Kumho tires, and got a significant boost from just that. Went to it increased, added 69 miles of range to it. It went from 3.3 to 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour on his test loop. And then he swapped those out and got a set of, went from the 21-inch factory wheels to a set of custom 20-inch wheels, and put some different Kumho Extra Sport all-season tires on there, and boosted the range even more. So overall, let's see, I think on his maximum test, he added almost 100 miles of range on his overall drive loop, which is pretty impressive.
It's impressive, But I feel like if range is your problem if your primary decision making point, don't buy a 5N.
It's true.
You bought it for the performance. You bought it for the tires. You bought it for the look and feel of the tires and everything else. Don't mess around with it. If that's not the level that you wanted of performance, then buy the other car. If range was more important, spend another couple thousand, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on new tires and wheels to get more range out of the car that you bought because it's super powerful. Like it felt like it was interesting that he did it and could prove and show that's the kind of change that you're going to make. But I still stepped back and went, but why? If range was your ultimate, don't take away from the performance of the vehicle by downgrading the tire capability to get more range. Buy the range that you want. Not the power that you want. Don't buy the power that you want and then kill it.
Right. Well, I think, part of the, part of what this tells us too, though, is that, if you've already got a vehicle, or if you're buying something used like we did, and, you need to replace your tires anyway, consider what tires you get. Maybe, look around, see what testing's been done on various tires, because you will get different performance, and maybe, if you're driving an EV, maybe, don't, or, if you're shopping for an EV, like if you're buying a regular Ioniq 5,
right.
Don't go for the limited trim with the 20-inch wheels. Stick with, one of the other trims with 18-inch wheels, because it will make a difference in your range. If you're concerned about that.
And I like that the story brought that part out, but the story is true to your point, on the limited on any of them. And that's something that I don't know how many people, have fully integrated into their shopping process and thought process. We traditionally like larger wheels and tires because they usually look better. Not always, but usually look better. Usually have a little bit more performance. But if you're looking at an EV and range is more of a performance metric that you're concerned about, drop down your wheels and tires. Drop them down in a couple inches, and almost all of them that have that have enough options to be able to do that.
So let's go in the opposite direction from all this EV stuff.
Yes.
Stellantis had a bunch of stuff going on this week because they, this coming week, next weekend is the Woodward Dream Cruise, and yesterday, Stellantis had their annual Roadkill Nights event with drag racing on Woodward Avenue in Pontiac, Michigan, and so Stellantis did what Stellantis does these days and brought out more power, more and more power. Let's start off with the SRT eBoost Air that we saw on Thursday. They brought us out to the Connor Center, where they store a lot of their cool classic cars and concepts and stuff like that, to show us some of the stuff that the SRT team's been working on. Earlier in the week, they had announced a supercharger kit, a bigger supercharger kit that you can put on your Ram Rumblebee, which hasn't started shipping yet, which, if 777 horsepower from a Rumblebee SRT isn't enough for you, now you can get over 900.
Mm-hmm.
Is that enough?
I mean,
I was good with 777, but that's okay.
I mean,
what's
your alimony payment?
Right. I think as Dodge taps into that and Ram taps into that, it taps into people who still just want to make their car a little bit different. I mean, I know somebody who bought a dark horse and then tried to make it more powerful. There's a number of buyers out there that buy these performance vehicles, and as SRT and Dodge was talking with us for the last few days, do start, even though they bought the TRX, or they're buying the Rumblebee SRT, that's the starting point for them. And they want to do something to make it a little bit different, and direct connection for, Ram and for Stellantis offers that, capability. So I think it's a good move for them to do it and make it available. And, it's a secondary thing. And because if they go through direct connect, they get the warranty. If they do all of the right things for the buyer, that can be important. How many of the kits do they sell? I don't know.
I mean, it's on brand.
Yeah.
It's on brand,
That's
and
the
Ford's
thing.
doing a lot of the same thing.
Oh yeah, I
And
mean, you know,
GM does it to a lesser degree.
We were out
but
at Michigan Speedway a few weeks ago for the Ford
Yeah.
Custom Garage, you know, where they were showing us supercharger kits on the F-150 and the Mustang.
I feel like thinking about the Ford version or Ford program that we were on a couple of weeks ago, and talking to SRT this week. The Ford the SRT performance level and the Mopar and that whole direct connection group, it feels more integrated to the vehicle development than Ford does, even though Ford says they're integrated to the vehicle development. And right now, SRT is willing to push it a little bit further, and Ram is. In as example, the Rumblebee trucks being the quad cab and shorter and longer, and making physical changes to the configuration that Ford doesn't do with Raptor in the same way. They're both cool trucks, not saying one's better than the other, but there does seem to be a deeper integration, even though they use a lot of the same words. The integration to the process seems to be a little bit deeper at Stellantis, and I feel like they've had more focus on Mopar for the last decade, and that's what underpins direct connection. So, yeah, I think that Stellantis is a little bit ahead and having some more flexibility and more options, and understanding how to upgrade quickly and simply.
Yeah, although, you know, Stellantis did sort of sideline SRT for a long time, and it's only in the last year that they've kind of really brought it back to life.
They sidelined SRT, but they kept direct connection and they kept Mopar. So the ability to sell parts to a consumer who wanted to make their car better themselves, they didn't really step back from, but they did step back from SRT. And this was the first time, I think, since they brought SRT back, that they showed us the whole story and kind of said, it's the series production cars that are the base of this thing. And then you do the direct connection and you do the motorsports, and they all work in together and feed on one another. And even talking with Tom Sakaman and talking with Matt McAlear later throughout the organization. And it repeats what Tim Kuniskis has been saying for the last few months too. If you don't have the production base to work with, this doesn't work. Yeah. You have to have the Rumblebee that's not SRT before you can get to the SRT. And once you have that as a baseline, then you can start building on. So this production and the series production versions really is where it starts.
Well, the other thing they showed us on Thursday was, like I said, this eBoost Pro, which is a 48-volt electric supercharger kit. That this is not a production system yet. It's not even something you can buy aftermarket. They apparently came up with the idea 7 weeks ago. Did a bunch of 3D printing of intake, plumbing, put it together, and got it up and running on a Grand Cherokee. A Grand Cherokee, by the way, that was powered by a 3-liter Hurricane inline 6. Not a product combination that you can currently buy from a Stellantis dealership. This e-chart is electric supercharger. Added about 90 horsepower to it, so about 630 horsepower.
The horsepower change was not the eBoost Air. The horsepower change was things they did to the engine, calibration and tuning. Yeah. Just to be clear,
you're right.
The power for the engine was not part of the eBoost Air technology.
And then, but the eBoost Air improves the responsiveness because it spins up right away, so you don't have turbo lag or anything like that. And when this thing rolled out onto the stage, it didn't sound quite like any Hurricane I've heard before. I mean, that's been one of the complaints about the Hurricane 6 is that it's too quiet. And this one made some noise.
Yeah. Of
course, Stellantis is not the first to use this type of electric supercharger. Audi's had it on some of their engines. Mercedes-Benz had it. Genesis has it on their they have a version of their twin turbo V6 with an electric supercharger like this. This one's plumbed. The Stellantis approach is plumbed a little bit differently. Instead of sucking through the turbos, it's upstream of the turbos and blowing into the turbochargers. So that would make it easier to do as an aftermarket kit than the factory solutions from Genesis and Audi. My guess is we'll probably see something like this offered as an aftermarket kit probably by the end of next year. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. And then, maybe a production application a year or two after that.
Yeah. That sounds like timing that I would agree with, because you can put it on the aftermarket thing, and like Sam was alluding to, you're reducing turbo lag, so then you can look at the Bumblebee direct connection to adding more. No, the superchargers don't work, but adding more turbochargers and higher chargers to the Hurricane 6. So this kind of feeds into where they want to play with the Hurricane engines. Because with bigger turbochargers, you have more lag. And if this can stop that lag or greatly reduce the lag problem, it gives them some other spaces to play with on that upper end, I feel like. And then also it gives your consumer, and back to the ability to change it on your own, gives them the ability to buy a bigger turbocharger than they're going to put in the production car and buy this part and be able to work through it all. So I don't think that I've ever seen an automaker, and Sam, I may be wrong, and there's certainly, you would remember, that has said, here's a concept of an engine part, basically. We don't know when we're going to build it. We don't know if we're going to build it, but it's a cool concept.
No, they show stuff like that at SEMA all the time.
At SEMA, yeah.
Yeah. So they do show off stuff like that.
It feels like a very German thing. Like, I'm sure the Germans always show me, like, hey, look at this cool thing.
Yeah. We may or may not build it someday.
We may not have it. We'll see.
But I mean, this something like this is a great example of, when we were at Michigan Speedway with Ford and we drove that Maverick with that kit on there that bumps it up to 300 horsepower. There's a bigger turbo on the 2-liter EcoBoost, and that thing had a lot of lag.
Yep.
For an extra 50 horsepower. And if you combined it with something like this, you could get that extra power and eliminate the lag. The number that they gave us was, 70% reduction in turbo lag, 650 milliseconds to get to 90% of peak torque, with that engine, which is, that's fairly quick. You're not going to really notice that very much.
Yeah.
So we'll probably see something like this, at least as a Mopar kit sometime in the not too distant future.
So if you get the Mopar stuff and you put it on the car, do you have to have the dealer or the service center put it on in order to keep your warranty, or is it okay if you do it yourself?
Yeah. You have to have an ASC certified engineer or technician, or the dealership. You do have to have a certified technician.
Yeah.
That's lame.
But
if you want to do it yourself in your garage, you're not going to get any warranty.
You're not going to get any. And that's Ford Performance is the same way. GM, anything they sell is the same way. The automaker can't do that because, the dealership might make a mistake and the ASC might make a mistake, but at least it's a little protection for them. If I decide to do that by myself, I promise you I will make a mistake. They do not want to be liable on a warranty level for a mistake that you make. And it sounds unfair, but
to be honest, most people don't work on their cars anymore.
Right.
That's at the end of the day. Again, on the edge case, I'm all excited. I'm working on my uncle's truck and on the weekend. This weekend, we're replacing the starter in a V8 Tundra from 2000. So the starter's underneath the intake manifold, in between the cylinders, there's a little valley. So I'm just like, oh yeah, this is going to be fun.
How would you make that so hard to get to?
Because the V8's bigger than the V6. The V6, it has it, in the typical place, outside the engine near the flywheel. But this, because
you got room there in the valley of the V8.
Yeah, so you have room in the valley of the V8. So there's you pull the intake manifold off and you look, and there's this little valley in there. And I was watching the video of it. I'm like, we could do this in the afternoon, easy peasy. My uncle's like, all right. He owned a radiator shop, but is it a 2-piece manifold where you can just take the top half off? Nah, it's just...
Or you got to pull the whole thing.
It's this big. Yeah. It's you got to move all the vacuum hoses, and it's mostly moving things, and it's just labeling stuff is going to be the big thing. So I'm going to get one of those label kits If people don't know, if you do engine swaps and stuff, you'll get these they're stickers, and they'll have numbers or colors and or letters and colors, and so you have to just make sure you just put like, oh, this is A1 blue, this is A1 blue, and then when you put the new engine in, bloop, you can go,
match
oh,
everything
okay,
back
yeah,
up again.
You can match everything back up again, yeah.
All right, so Friday we went to M1 Concourse, and we saw the new Dodge Charger Super B. Because 550 horsepower, just not enough. So the Super B gets bigger turbos, bigger brakes, 16-inch Brembo rotors, 6-piston front calipers, 4-piston rears, so it's just more of everything.
More.
I do like the color combinations.
I do too.
Yeah,
The colors are great.
I did see like a video where they just did a burnout while they're moving it forward, and then it stopped, and everyone's like, "Woo!" I'm like, I could do that with a Mazda B2200. Come on, guys, that's just not as exciting. Do it up. Melting tires is not that hard. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, the Super B does come standard with line lock, and there's a button on the steering wheel because we want more steering wheel buttons, right? You tap the steering wheel. Tap the steering wheel button twice, and goes from all-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive. So no messing around in the touch screen. You can do your burnouts really quick.
There you go.
So
it looked cool. I agree with Sam. I love the colors in it. The power is nice, and of course they've said 4 or 5 times, this is not the finish line. SRT is doing something different. Something more is to come, and And the eBoost that we were just talking about is maybe going to play into that as well. And looking at the H6 they had in the Cherokee and Grand Cherokee, and telling us that it was 90 horsepower more than 600. So it adds up. This is the next step.
They invited a bunch of builders to come out for the Roadkill Nights grudge matches. They had 8 builders with various built-up chargers that ranged from about 600 horsepower to 3 of them were over 1,000, or were at least 1,000 horsepower.
At least, yep. And that was impressive. I talked with Matt about that a little bit, Matt McAlear about that a little bit later, and asked him, if they had how this project came about. Because I think when the grudge matches happened before, if I remember correctly, there was a bit of an application process. So there were people that were asking to do this. So I was like, so how did that work? Like, did you go through a bunch of it? And he's like, no, not this time. It was curated. We wanted, they had a guy who did JDMs. They had a guy who did V8s. So all of the builders that they had a skill set that was a little bit different from what the traditional Dodge Charger or Challenger you would assume could do this, and a different engine and different experiences. So I think they picked a really strong group. I think they got what they wanted out of that in terms of putting this in the space of somebody who might not have thought of doing a Charger with a V8, much less this one. And the results were pretty outstanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, did you see the grudge matches yesterday?
I did not get to stay long enough for the grudge matches.
Oh, well.
Unfortunately, I didn't see them run yesterday. But the other part about it too is they got these cars, I think 9 weeks ago, something like that. And they have them for 2 years. So one of the things Matt was saying is that these guys are really excited to be there yesterday to do the grudge matches, but they're just getting warmed up. He said they're just as excited about what they're going to do when they get back. I mean, they had their 8-week, whatever time frame they had to do this. They still have another 18 months with the car. Cool. So they're like, yeah, we're going to do more. And these cars are going to be, these and the other drift car that they showed, they'll be kind of scaled around at different events. The drift car that they had built too, those 2 cars will be at different events as well. And all of that builds into what, especially Roadkill Nights and near Dream Cruise, that's what owners are doing with their vehicles, and that's what they need to keep proving again and again. They said when they launched this Charger that there was going to be the opportunity to do that. They said there were going to be direct connection stage 1, 2, 3, like there was the past. All of that is in the plan, and it takes time to build up. And so the important thing about Super B here is that that's the next step in that, and being able to kind of do that. It took a long time to get the Charger and Challenger to the point where they had as many options and as many trim packages and all of that as they did. This is also going to take time to build up.
Yeah, I'm having a brain fart right now. When we were at the Investor Day back in May, and they took us through the design studio, one of the cars they showed us in there was a Charger SRT. They did not lift the hood on that, but based on the shape of the hood scoops on there that were similar to what you would find on a previous generation Hellcat Charger, I think everybody is assuming that there was, a Hellcat V8 in that thing.
That's been the assumption, and the Tim Kuniskis keeps saying, but we can do more with their high output. Don't make that assumption, but maybe, but blah, blah, blah. It's not that easy to put the V8 in that car. That car was not designed to
Where do you put
the
starter? Exactly.
Right.
In the valley of the V.
In the valley of the V.
There's strut tower things. There's spaces in there that don't work that well. Not that it's impossible.
But they did show a year and a half ago at SEMA.
They showed a crate.
They showed a drag car, a Charger drag car with a V8 in it. So it is doable.
And it is, but that was a crate option that you could do for $100,000 or whatever. That being possible isn't the same thing as building it for production, I don't think. I don't know which way they're going to go, honestly.
They're probably going to focus on the Hurricane for the time being, but
I think they kind of need to a little bit. They need more volume of Charger overall before they can support a Hellcat Charger with all of the background that they're going to have to do to make that car accept it.
If they can put an exhaust system like they had on that Grand Cherokee onto the Charger Hurricane, that could be interesting for people.
And so I think they'll be able to get to their 800 or 900 horsepower out of the H6 at some point. So I don't know that the question really is what audience, right? You do have the V8 only. I'm not going to consider if it's anything else. And then you have an audience that just appreciates performance, and the performance is going to keep getting better. The importance of the garage match vehicles too is showing that it can be done and that somebody else can do something, and getting that part of the market excited and seeing it. I don't know if they'll put the V8 into it. I would say that I think that they won't, and be more firm, except they do keep doing weird things. I'm like, it's possible. I would like to see them do more with the H6 and build up this, because they knew that they had the ability to do that when they made this decision. They didn't make the decision to go to the H6 and think 550 was all they were going to do.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, right from the beginning when they announced it, Mickey Bly was saying, this thing's got a lot of headroom. So
it does. So let's hopefully they get the chance to actually deliver on that, and consumers start paying attention to it.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I also had a chat with Matt after the presentations, and I'm going to drop that in here, and we will be right back. Matt McAlear, CEO of Dodge. We're here at M1 Concourse. It's day before the Roadkill Nights 2026 starts, and you've announced some stuff today, and we also heard about some stuff yesterday from the SRT team. But sounds like well, first off, let's talk about the Super B.
Yeah.
Tell us about what has changed on the Super B compared to the existing Charger 6-packs.
This car, and it's flat out, it's a different machine. We started with the powertrain, the most power-dense muscle car ever, 200 horsepower per liter out of the inline six, 56 millimeter Garrett twin turbos, 50% more cooling up front with a front end that's open to get that air into the system, better aero, better downforce, 16-inch massive brakes with 6-piston front and 4-piston rear for 3 times better brake fade resistance. Everything about this car that we changed had a purpose. better handling, better stability, better cooling, better power. 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. Quicker than the original 707 horsepower Hellcats. This car flat out meets all of our SRT capability on the track, and wears the Super B name with pride. And we couldn't be more excited to get it to market here in the coming months. It is absolutely awesome.
So do you see this as more of a drag car or a track car or both?
Absolutely both. It's still phenomenal in straight line. It's got line lock and launch control, but all of the modifications we made are about keeping that power run after run after run. And with its wheelbase, it is a large car, but the team knocked it out of the park. And you get behind the wheel on the track, and you are going to be excited and have a lot of fun because this car has your back. All-wheel drive for the ability to hook up with a new rear-wheel drive button right on the steering wheel, double tap, on-demand rear-wheel drive. While you're moving, you can put it in rear-wheel drive and slide it around the turns. Bigger paddle shifters for better control, new improved steering wheel design. Everything about it was for one core reason, better track and handling capability. And we did a great job with it because the engineering team that just hit it out of the park.
So with the bigger turbos, I mean, one of the challenges there is potentially more lag. Yeah. What's been done to address that?
We've got torque reserve now, and we increased the torque band for to 3,000 on the bottom end to 5,900 RPMs on the top end to try and improve that responsiveness. And we've got some other technology I think you saw yesterday in the SRT world that can even help us in the future.
Is that something that you would expect? Like what you're referring to is the eBoost Air, the electric compressor add-on to go along with the turbos. Is that something you expect to see available in production sometime in the next few years?
We're not talking about anything from a timing standpoint, but as we were here last year and we unveiled the 420 horsepower RT and the 550 horsepower Scat Pack, we told you then we were just getting started, and we owed it to everybody to come back today and show you what we're doing and bringing out the Super B and taking it to 600 horsepower and all the improvements we made for handling, braking, suspension, adaptive damping suspension. This isn't the finish line. We're going to keep going, and you saw some technology yesterday that it gives us the ability to get more out of this engine, and we'll see where we go from here.
So, one of the challenges for a brand like Dodge right now in 2026 is fairly limited lineup. You only got two nameplates. You got Charger, you got Durango. And it sounds like one of the things that you're focusing on, besides performance, is also the customization component of it. Not just the Mopar side, the aftermarket side, but also from the factory. And you showed off some stuff today. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, we're excited. People look at these cars. They're an extension of their personality. They're an extension of who they are and what they want to be seen as. And we've had some terrific success over the years with incredible stripe packages. But this new one that the team came up with is a tone-on-tone look. It's a tinted clear that takes on the base paint, and it gives it a subtle but yet unique appearance. We're going to offer that very shortly here on Charger and Durango both. And then we talked about some other things we're going to be doing here. We've had some 101 custom paint programs in the past on our Demon vehicles, and then last year on our SRT Hellcat Durangos. But those paint programs were very expensive from the factory. They cost as much as some new cars, and they were for a very select few. We didn't have the capability and the throughput to take care of as many customers as we'd like. So we went back and we said, this isn't Dodge. We revel when we take something that isn't available for the masses and find a way to bring it down at a price affordable point for everybody. So we're going to be unveiling here in the coming months a one-on-one paint program from the factory with an affordable price point that's going to open a lot of eyes. And I can't wait to unveil more details here before the end of the year because it's something that some exotic brands do, but no one's going to be able to do it like we are. and to the mainstream for the masses.
So has that required some changes in your manufacturing processes at Windsor and here in Jefferson?
Yeah, we haven't announced the
building those
details on the
vehicles?
timing or which plants are going to be affected first, but yeah, we've absolutely been working with the suppliers and with the manufacturing team. It's not as easy as it sounds, but they're fully on board because they support us and where we're trying to go and push the limits with not only power but personality and color, to name a few. So it's going to be fun, and they're absolutely on board and working with us. So it's a great team effort.
Do you see that as really helping to boost the sales of those two Dodge brand vehicles?
Well, I think, we always say we win when we're different. We don't build Me Too commoditized products. It's not about building a better mousetrap. It's about building a different mousetrap. It's about building something that no one else in the industry is doing. No one else offers a 5-passenger, 2-door, 4-door, all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive when you want it, hidden hatch design that's got SUV-like capability and a muscle car performance package. Nobody else offers a 3-row muscle SUV with a standard V8 and 3 available V8s and a supercharged V8 with 710 horsepower that tows like a class above it with active exhaust and looks like anything else with dual stripes running down the road. That is pure Dodge. That is the essence of what we're all about. Look different, sound different, drive different, and feel different behind the wheel. And I think this is just taking what has made Dodge to the next level. And if we're not innovating, if we're not pushing the limits, we're not pushing the boundaries, we're not living up to what the core of Dodge stands for and delivering what our fans want.
So you mentioned sound in there, and that's one of the big complaints that a lot of people have had. The Hurricane engine, it's a fantastic engine. It's better in almost every way than a Heavy, but it doesn't have the sound. And is that something that the Dodge engineers are looking at? How to enhance change or improve the sound quality of
it's something that we're absolutely working on finalizing with the Super Bee. Sound is subjective. I drive the Scat Pack every day, and I've had people that have absolutely walked up to me in a parking lot and said, "What type of exhaust system do you have on that?" They thought it was aftermarket because it was that good from the factory. Is it the exhaust sound that we've been known for over the years? No. Is it different? Yes. Is it great? Arguably, yes. I would say it's phenomenal. Is the Super Bee going to be even better than the Scat Pack? You bet. The engineers are working on those final details, and we're going to continue to push.
Well, that Grand Cherokee we saw yesterday with the eBoost on there, that didn't sound like any Hurricane I've heard before.
It's amazing what technology can do these days.
Yeah. So looking forward a little bit, how far can you take the Hurricane? I mean, obviously, you introduced some of the competitors for the grudge match tomorrow, but and some of them are putting out over 1,000 horsepower out of the Hurricane. But for a production version of the Hurricane, how far can that go?
Well, I don't want to steal any of the thunder, but Tim and the SRT team are working on some incredible stuff, and stay tuned.
Okay. And then, looking a little bit further down the road, you do have a couple more models coming to the Dodge lineup. I'm not sure exactly what the cadence is going to be, but you got the Copperhead and the GLH.
Yeah.
And, is the GLH in particular, is that going to also carry forward that Dodge muscle kind of attitude with it?
Oh, absolutely. It will be unlike anything else in the segment. It truly will be Dodge performance core to its DNA. We're focused on affordability. We're focused on performance. We're offering something unique in the segment and on our showroom floor that no other brand could do, and bringing affordability, performance, and affordability to the masses. So yeah, you absolutely. We don't plan on entering any segment in the future if we can't be the best in class from a performance standpoint.
And Stellantis has a new hybrid system now in the Cherokee. I'm driving one right now. I'm driving one this week. Do you see? Obviously you've got the Charger Daytona, but do you see hybridization being part of the mix for enhancing performance in the Dodge lineup going forward?
It's simply an option. You saw some other options yesterday down at the tech days. Hybrids absolutely offer something in the marketplace, and we're putting them in some of our vehicles on the showroom floor now, and we'll see where we go. We're always looking at all different kinds of powertrains to see what makes the most sense for the platform from a performance standpoint and what meets the Dodge DNA. But yeah, we're absolutely always looking at that stuff.
And then the Copperhead.
Yeah.
What kind of time frame are we looking at to maybe see those on the road?
We said by 2030 as part of the Dare Forward plan for 2030.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to share about Dodge?
No, I appreciate you coming out today. The Super B is exciting. It's the next step forward. But for those who haven't got out, who haven't driven the RT yet or the Scat Pack, visit a dealer, go for a test drive, see the incredible performance, enjoy the all-wheel drive, try the rear-wheel drive, have some fun, and just see how capable and how much fun these cars really are.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to actually getting into the six-pack for the first time in a couple of weeks.
Terrific.
And then hopefully driving the Super B later on.
Awesome. Yeah,
all right.
we plan on having some fun with it.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, good seeing you.
All right. That was Matt McAlear, the CEO of Dodge brand at Stellantis. And got a cat joining the party here. Which one's that, Robbie?
This is Roy. Roy's very needy.
Hi, Roy.
Hey, Roy.
All right. GM has had a partnership in China with SAIC, Shanghai Automotive Industry Group, for many, many years. There has been, some bit of speculation that, that may or may not last too much longer in the future. They did do a big restructuring over the last couple of years as sales of their joint venture vehicles dropped off pretty dramatically by about almost half. And so they had to restructure a lot of stuff to get costs down. But they announced this week that they were extending their joint venture with SAIC for another 20 years.
Yep.
So GM apparently has no plans of abandoning the Chinese market anytime soon.
Nope. And the other part of that, too, is they made an announcement earlier, maybe 2 months ago, about adding some production of some of the Chinese products to their Mexico plant for South America, not necessarily. They're smaller cars. They're not cars that aren't really on their way into the U.S. And in this announcement, they talked about exporting more of the Buick Electra stuff out of China into other emerging markets. So they're seeing the opportunity to behave as though it was a BYD or so, and this joint venture can do that. It's got the efficiencies that the Chinese ventures are able to do, and it gives them a way to be able to compete in those markets with the BYDs and the Geelys that are exporting to South America now, and they're building production in South America. So I think this for GM is really important for China, but I think it's really important for their international, less important for North America or the U.S. in particular.
All right. And then finally for this week, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy sent a letter to 6 senators asking for some stuff to be included in the next highway bill. And there was a segment in there called Freedom Car, which he would like to see. He's proposing some stuff to be included in the highway bill that would, give consumers the right to drive disconnected and non-automated, prohibit any federal, state, tribal, or local authority from mandating that vehicles sold or operated on public roads be equipped with automated driving systems or be capable of transmitting data wirelessly. So he wants everything to be a slate.
At least
or
make
like,
sure that you can't mandate it.
You can't mandate you can't sell the slate.
Yeah.
Okay. Was anyone mandated? Did you have to sell what's your car?
No. And I mean, right now, none of this stuff is mandated anyway. But he wants to get something into law that prohibits any states or other authorities from mandating such a thing in the future.
I mean, if automakers are going to build it, they're going to build it. They they like having that data. That's why it's in there.
Pretty much
people
everything.
like what they do with it.
Yeah, pretty much everything. Almost everything for sale in the U.S. now has connectivity built in from the factory.
Some way.
Nobody's mandated it. The companies want it. Because they want the data. I mean,
people want to be able to find out where the closest Trader Joe's is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, car, where's the Trader Joe's?
How else can they give you over-the-air updates?
Yep.
Or sell you subscriptions to your heated seats.
Yeah, and we'll see, and even the heated seat thing, right? Like we saw that there's the automakers are pushed to a degree, and then consumers going to push back and say that I'm not willing to pay for that. So there is a push and pull between how much technology they can put in and how much consumers really want to have. But that happens by itself. It doesn't need a mandate like that.
Market forces take care of that.
Market forces take care of that. And I think something like this would have the risk anyway of coming into conflict with, you want to mandate autonomous vehicles. You want to establish rules about how those vehicles should be. Does this, in some unintended way, 15 years from now, cause a conflict with something else that happens within the industry that decide we don't think this rule is a very good rule to have? I don't think it's necessary to have it in the first place.
I think the idea here is to prohibit governments from mandating that. But if manufacturers are going to put it in, you can still have rules that govern how those systems work. You just can't tell companies that they are required to put those features in cars.
Well, yeah, but there's features we don't know about yet because they're not developed yet.
Yeah.
And
it's posturing. It's just
it
posturing.
It's not necessary.
You're accusing this current administration of posturing?
It's a posturing, especially when the real issue is we don't have proper privacy protection laws and data protection laws in this country. Yeah. That's the real issue, not this weird, hey, you can't stop people from buying cars that don't have a modem. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the only administration to posture, by the way.
Yeah.
They all do. But yeah, so it is a red herring sort of thing out there. It leans into this conversation that we want anti-regulation so that you can do whatever you want in a space where it's not even being regulated, and the market will take care of what people want to buy. If there are people who don't want this stuff and that they're going to buy this late. Yeah. Now, if Slate does hit on some way that Sam and I don't really expect yet, if that happens, you can see, Ford go, you know what? I'm taking that modem out of that Maverick and you can just have it the way it is. The automakers will react if people want to do it that way. Either that or some other automaker will step in and fill the gap.
Yeah. I mean, there will probably, if there's enough of a pull for it from consumers, then somebody will find a way to fill that gap. But I honestly don't actually expect that to happen. And regardless, even if customers want the connectivity in their vehicles, we still need data privacy laws.
We do,
and that needs to be protected both from corporations and from the government. Yeah, we need protection from both sides, not just from one side.
Data privacy would be a better area to address in this than this red herring thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you, everybody.
We got through a lot. That was a good week.
Thanks again for joining us today, Steph. Always good to talk to you.
Thank you. Yes, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
I'll see you again in a few days in Seattle.
Yep.
And we'll talk to you all next time. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
All right.